call. I don't think that Kinloch can catch Mary Sheffield. He is behind in the race. It is August the 24th, and everyone knows he wants to win by coming back. But here's the thing about a comeback victory: in order to seal a comeback victory, there has to be a portion or a time period during the contest where your opponent is only scoring field goals and you're scoring touchdowns. In order for there to be a comeback win, there has to be a period throughout a game where your opponent is only hitting layups and you're hitting threes, right? That there has to be a moment where you are significantly outperforming your opponent because of the deficit that has been built. The way that you protect the lead and the way that you come back, the strategy, the urgency, they're two different game plans. And what we're about to see is that even according to the talking heads, even according to those individuals who are obviously against Mary Sheffield, those people who obviously hate Mary Sheffield, those people who have this weird infatuation with her family or with Horace. It's the weirdest thing how much these people dislike this woman. And as someone who is an honest, inquisitive onlooker, I can't figure out why. Now, certainly the city is in need of a lot of work, but are we literally about to try to place all of the issues at Mary's feet? I also love how powerless the activists and the journalists like assume themselves to be. And I can tell you from experience, because I've done it, the only thing you've got to do to run for office is go downtown and let them know that you want the application. And so the fact that she has, and quite frankly, Pastor Kinloch have both received such, well, why is he running? Why doesn't he run his church? You know what I mean? Like, why is she running? What could she fix? It's crazy that they're receiving so much backlash when all you have to do is let them know that you want to run. It's obvious at this point in the election, and it's really still kind of early on. So maybe I am being bold by making this prediction, but it seems as though we are going to watch Mary be coronated in November. I want to go to a couple of clips. I want to go to a couple of clips of a podcast that I quite frankly enjoy watching. He's a talking head from the city of Detroit. I don't know if he's from Detroit, but he's an established talking head in the city. His name is, I don't want to mispronounce his name and have an issue there. But he has a podcast, is my understanding, that he used to work for. He used to work for Detroit Free Press. Respected name, an obvious supporter of Kinloch. And I think it's obvious if you're watching any of his most recent broadcast, it's obvious that he's leaning, if nothing else, towards Kinloch. And his position is that, his position is the two Detroits. And his position is that it is urgent and that it is, our city is on the brink of collapse. Like, that's for certain people, at least, right? He understands that there's a lot of success going on downtown, but then he also understands that there are a lot of people that have been left out. And so he kind of assumes the position of, like, he's anti whoever's been in power. And so that means he has, what I feel safe in saying, is a decent amount of disdain, not just for Mary personally, because he hasn't really gotten very personal, but what but for what she represents. And I've heard a couple of people going back and forth about is she not. Listen, in every game, somebody's got to be the underdog. In every game, somebody's got to be the home, home field, home court. In every political race, whether there is one who is outright establishment or whether we're talking about who is more or less establishment, every race has an establishment candidate. Mary is the established candidate. There's no denying that. Even if she's not the establishment candidate, she's what? More of an established candidate than Kinloch is. And so this gentleman's position is he takes a very strong adversarial position against the establishment, which is a part of the hand that Mary has been dealt. And so again, I'm saying that him opposing her and hasn't felt personal, but it's felt very vitriol and it's felt very real. It's more so about what she represents. Let's go to a clip of this young man. He has this other gentleman on his podcast. His name is Sam Riddle. Sam Riddle is also known, for those of you who aren't familiar with the political talking heads in here in the city. We worked for Jesse Jackson, part of Nan. You'll see him on stage in the background if, Al Sharpton comes to town. Like one of those guys. Like he's a bureaucrat. He's at this point, he's just an old, bitter man. But he's one of those unelected, power-holding people who keep their job based on the right or wrong person winning. And so that's kind of what he is. He's a thought leader who doesn't have to run for election. And so those people are very, very tricky, pernicious people. But let's see what they have to say. Very interesting conversation that they have here on Bankolay's. I think that's it. Yeah, Bankolay. Gotta sound it out. I hate butchering people's name. I think that's a trashy way to throw a slug. You know what I mean? If you want to say something mean about somebody, like, be creative, make an insult, but don't like butcher their name on accident or on purpose. You know what I mean? Love the show, Bankolay. Let's see what they're talking about here. They're talking about Mary. But let me jump in a little bit deeper before we go into this video, so you really, really know what we're about to see. Because I'm talking about the supporters of Kinloch being left in the dark. The idea that Kinloch is not going to be able to catch Mary Sheffield by November. That's specifically what I'm speaking to and responding to. These, again, as I'm setting the stage, these are people who are against Mary. But even those persons who are vehemently against Mary and what she represents, they are beginning to have to acknowledge that Kinloch is not giving them what they need in order to come back. Remember, I said, you don't come back. Okay, if I'm down by 3 touchdowns and then we get to second half and we trade touchdowns, I'm going to lose by 21. There's got to be a portion in the game where I'm scoring and you aren't, where I'm scoring and you're just hitting field goals, right? There's got to be a time where I'm outperforming you. And even the wise talking heads in Detroit are beginning to see that regardless of how you feel about the establishment or about the two cities or about, Horace Sheffield or about any of these other things, regardless to how you feel about those things, Mr. Bankolay, you still have to have a good candidate running against Mary. And that's what you don't have. You don't have someone who's going to be more visible than she. Let's talk about this simply. The only way he can come back is by being more visible than she is. Mary's in every room, my brother. And I'm a former candidate running for a city council District 5. So you get a chance to see behind the scenes the temperament, the availability, the consistency in the approach of all of the candidates. And she's not going to let up. Right? I lived in Houston when Tom Brady came back on the Falcons. That game was in Houston. Right? Didn't go to the game, but I remember there being state troopers everywhere when I was driving home from church. It's like, my goodness, this is crazy. But my point is this. Listen, man, in order to come back, that Mary's got to stand still. Mary's got to stand still for you to come back on her, or you've got to outpace her. You got to outrun her. You got to outwork her. Let's listen to these guys. I've talked enough. Let's listen to these talking heads begin to explain pretty early. We're still in August. We still got September, October, right? We still have 2 good full months. What, 75, 80 days left. Real a good, a good amount of time left. But Kinloch's not putting out. Kinloch's not putting out. And it's apparent to me, as Kinloch has said, it's apparent to me that the type of mayor you're going to get is contingent upon the people that the mayor has around him. He doesn't have a good team around him because he's not as visible and available as he could and should be. We've watched somebody win an election. We know what you've got to do in order to win. You got to be visible. Let's see what they're talking about here.
When Henry Ford Hospital becomes twice within hours a crime scene on the boulevard and a crime scene in the basement of City Hall. And you can't sit idly by waiting days to come up with whatever your plan might be to combat crime. Damn it, get on the crime scene and let us know what you want to do right now. Because by the time you get ready to do your little jive pony dog and pony show, by the time you get ready for that, it's old news. You got to be there when it's going down.
Great position, great talking point by this guy. Now, here's the thing about me, and I don't know these individuals enough to have some type of permanent opposing view. It's not that serious to me. But I'm leaning more towards Mayor than they are. And so for that reason alone, we may be on the opposite side of these positions. But the truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. Now, here's the thing again, because they don't have to have the same approach to this race. Mary's in the lead. So you don't have to run trick plays and run your hurry up offense when you're up. You don't have to do that. So at this point in the race, again, if Kinloch does what Mary, if Mary comes and shows up at every crime scene, every time someone's killed, like that would be icing on the cake. That would just be like, oh my gosh, go away almost, because she's been so many places. Kinloch would have to do it. Kinloch would have to be, again, this is him coming back. This is him using every opportunity to show that he's somewhere that she can't be. But let me tell you what the problem is going to be. Let me tell you why Kinloch can't show up to every crime scene here in the city of Detroit, because he'd have to drive from Southfield. Let's go to the next video here.
Leadership leads. And this is a Pastor Kinloch that can lead, that can do the job full time as a Detroit mayor. If the people so select him, elect him. But the problem is that the people have to see you, touch you, breathe the same.
All right, there you go. This is Sam. This is the almighty Sam, who everybody loves and respects. And quite frankly, I've got respect for the gentleman as well, because he's been around, and even a fool that's been around's got some knowledge, and I don't think he's that at all. So he's got something valuable to say. But what he's clearly indicating at this point is that you're not out enough. And this is what I've been saying. In the city of Detroit, there's almost no such thing as criticism. It's only hate. If you say something that is opposing a person, or if you don't agree with the position, or if you even support someone, it's because you hate their opponent. No. That's not why. I'm saying that there are elements to every race that are the same, no matter what city, country, county that you're in. You got to be available. You've got to be pounding your messaging, and you've got to create moments that otherwise could have went by the wayside. But because of your quickness and because of your team being connected to what's going on in the streets, you're creating extra moments. That is you going to a crime scene. That is you going, during the first pitch at a baseball game. That is you being present at a music festival. That is you, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be there. And that's what they're beginning to see, is that he's not as visible as you're going to need to be to outpace Mary. You're not as visible.
They're next to you. And it's almost as if Kinloch advisors, whomever they may
The
be,
advisors.
have put up a wall,
A wall.
almost a Trump wall, to keep Kinloch from his real.
All right. So you love and respect and trust Sam Riddle. You're listening to him say, you're listening to Sam say, it feels as though the people around Kinloch's campaign, or in Kinloch's campaign, have put up a Trump-like wall around him. And this is one of those moments where you ask yourself, what would Jenkins do? I talked to one of the council members on election day on August 5th. First time meeting a councilwoman. Pleasant. There's only so many of them. Do your own guessing as to who that was. But my point is, she said she wanted Mary and Jenkins to go against each other in the mayoral election. And I said, you know what? I think Kinloch's going to be the one that actually presses her the most and, calls her out on the most issues, just because of the position that he took as like the anti-establishment type of situation. And I didn't really see Miss Jenkins being able to really tell that story. Now, I saw that she took a shot about part-time mayor and the TikTok or Instagram mayor. And quite frankly, that's the type of attitude you're going to have in order to beat somebody like Mary. You've got to go on the offense. You got to make this money. You've got to talk about who her fiance is. You got to talk about what Horace may or may not do. If you're not trying to do that, then you're not acknowledging the almost insurmountable lead that she has. Let's look at another clip here of Sam and Mr. Bankole talking about the election. But what I want you to be hearing is that, knowing these individuals, knowing who they're rooting for, you're beginning to see their argument almost kind of come unraveled. Because
Donald Trump, and right now, the killing fields of Detroit have made Detroit a prime target for the military takeover that may be coming from Donald Trump. You better hear me. You better hear me.
So, Sam, you've said that in the wake of Duggan's endorsement of Mary Sheffield, you've basically indicated, you've said this, that if people like Duggan, they would love Mary Sheffield. Explain, what do you mean by that?
Well, no. If people like Mary Sheffield, people,
like
if you like Duggan, you'll certainly love Mary Sheffield.
Well. Wow. Let me see. I think this is a very fascinating position to be taken. And again, they still oppose Mary. Give me just a second here. I want to pose this question to our viewers here. We're almost done, you guys. But I want to ask you, if you believe that the crime is out of control here. Should feds come to Detroit with National Guard? Do you believe that what we are now looking at has gotten to a place where we need to see? Detroit is such a unique place because although it's very, very left-leaning, the challenges that exist here in the city are very well documented, and they've existed for a long time. And so when you put that reality in the context of the fact that the city has been left leaning for so long, you kind of, depending on your willingness and how much you can zoom out, you kind of begin to realize that although Trump may not be someone that you favor or that you like, he has a lot of the same enemies that you have. He's going against a lot of the same systems. Now, he isn't touching all of them. I'd really like to see a Trump attack in some creative way rap culture and this glorification of violence and murder that exists in our society, in our communities. That's another topic for another day. Nevertheless, Trump has this unique ability to tackle issues that we've wanted to tackle, right? And so, yeah, Trump is against a lot of the same, not all of, but a lot of the same systems that the everyday Detroiter is up against. Like, for example, we see what he's doing in DC. And yes, we most certainly dislike Trump or whatever for whatever reason, right? A lot of people feel that way. That's fine. But it would probably, I think we could have a good, fruitful debate about whether or not the National Guard should come to Detroit when we're looking at the type of crime that exists in our neighborhoods. Now, people would obviously be very vehemently against that, obviously, because it's Trump, it's the orange man. But then, and I know many of you aren't willing to even consider this because Trump bad, Democrats good, right? Like, we're not supposed to be able to think individually. There are undoubtedly people here in the city that don't think that's a bad idea. That's not the worst idea that's ever been touted. It's to have someone above and beyond our capabilities come here and address the crime. I'm talking about the type of crime where you can't keep up. I would hate to have passed in the city. They won't remember your name. If you pass in Detroit, if you die in Detroit in the summer of 2025, you will be forgotten because there's so many murders. There's so much crime. There's so many gut-wrenching stories, like a gentleman going and killing his ex-wife at work, at the hospital. Like, that takes precedent over the 16-year-old that was found killed. Who is he? It doesn't, and obviously it matters to the family and to our community at large. But what I'm saying is, specifically, we won't even be able to keep track of it because there's so much crime. And when you get to this point, when it gets this crazy, something in you says, well, why not Trump? If it's this out of control, think of it. 2025, in a Democratic city, in a city like Detroit, it is a sundown town. If you are a woman or a child, let alone, never mind the curfew, you cannot be outside unless you're downtown in Detroit at night. You had better not. It's almost like a death wish. And so again, I'm asking the question, and quite frankly, which one of the mayoral candidates are going to address this? And as you just heard Mr. Sam say, there is some type of weird connection between Mary Sheffield, Mike Duggan, and Donald Trump. So at the bare minimum, if we're talking about resources and an open line to resources, Mary is still the person to go with. Still, ironically. And so, should they come? It's becoming a very, very, very good question. I'm going to get out of here. We're at 25 minutes. I want to hold you up too much, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We're having conversations about this election and the federal government and those and connecting those dots. Like, share,